Legal expert and professor at the University of Cape Town, Pierre de Vos, is in our studios in the mother city. Evening to you, Professor. How do you respond to the Justice Minister's reaction there that we should be proud of what the NPA is doing based on the overcrowding in our prisons?
Well, the Justice Minister, of course, it's his job to say those kinds of things, but the reality is maybe slightly different from that held forth by the Justice Minister for two reasons. Firstly, of course, the prosecuting authority doesn't always prosecute people who are suspected of criminal activity, and so even if they have a high conviction rate, it doesn't mean that they're actually doing their job. They often do plea bargains and they do deals and so forth, or they don't decide not to prosecute. So there are issues there, and then of course the second and perhaps more troubling issue is that there are serious perceptions afoot about the lack of independence of the prosecuting authority and the fact that the prosecuting authority might not always be so enthusiastic about prosecuting certain political crimes or people who are politically connected.
Well, this issue about the NPA's independence has dated back a very long time to just before Vusi Pikoli's reign at the head of this organization. Why are we struggling to resolve this issue?
Well, there are a few reasons. Firstly, there's a structural issue in the sense that the Minister of Justice has final responsibility for the prosecuting authority. At the same time, the Constitution says that the prosecuting authority has to be independent. So there's a bit of a tension there. But the second reason is, of course, that there are very high political stakes involved in the prosecuting authority being independent or not independent, because if it's truly and absolutely fearless and independent, no one will be safe from prosecution for corruption and the like, and that will create a lot of tension within the ANC and the governing party. So there are very strong incentives for the prosecuting authority not to be as independent as the Constitution says it should be.
How can such an important arm of the law operate without a leader?
Well, that's another problem. The Constitution says that the President has to appoint the head of the prosecuting authority. And it also says that when the President acts in that way, he has to act in a diligent and speedily manner. So the fact that it has been now such a long time since the previous prosecuting authority head has been found not to have been appointed properly is quite worrying, because you can only actually be independent if you have security of tenure. And of course, if you're acting in the position, you don't have security of tenure, and the independence of that prosecuting authority acting head must therefore, there must at least be a perception that that person is not as independent as required.
When we look at the outcomes we've had in recent weeks, the J. Arthur Brown case, Anine Boyson's, one of her suspected killers, walking free, Glynis Breitenbach's vindication in court yesterday, is there something necessarily wrong with that judicial process with the NPA, or are we just more aware of the negative outcomes in high-profile cases?
Well, of course, it is true that one finds out more and the media reports more on high-profile cases, and so one mustn't be completely skewed. The prosecuting authority, there are very dedicated people in the prosecuting authority doing their job very well and so forth. But I think there is an issue of capacity within the prosecuting authority because of all the turbulation and all the political ructions around the prosecuting authority. Many or some of the very senior people in the prosecuting authority has either left the organization or has been suspended, like Glynis Breitenbach. So that creates a vacuum, because it takes a long time to actually get the experience to prosecute, especially the very complicated commercial cases that the prosecuting authority has been really floundering with.
And what needs to be done? What sort of immediate interventions can be made to make sure that this is a powerful arm that basically allows South Africans the legal solutions to problems that we face with criminality in the country?
Well, the obvious first step is that the President very soon must appoint a truly independent person as the head of the prosecuting authority, somebody who clearly has both the skills but also clearly has the integrity, somebody who is not too close to the governing party or to any other political group or to big business for that matter. If that doesn't happen, everything else falls away, and there won't be stability and there won't be professionalism within the prosecuting authority. So that is at the very least the first step.
Professor Pierre de Vos, thanks very much for talking to us.
News that moves. eNCA.com.